And we welcome you to our 7th Street Christian Church interviews. And this morning we are interviewing Paul Blacker.
Yay, Paul!
Yay.
What? I don't need to be full screen.
Yes, you do.
No.
So what is I think will make this a fun, interesting interview is that Paul has been a long-standing member of 7th Street. You grew up at 7th Street, kind of left for a period, and now you're back. So the bonus to that is that even though you are, and I won't give away your age, everyone still thinks you're 17.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the church, and still wee little Paul Blacker running around. Okay.
I know better.
Yeah. I was going to say, all Pat knows better than that.
So, no, tell us about yourself, Paul. Like, yeah, I mean, however far back you want to go. Yeah, I don't know where you live now, what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I grew up at 7th Street. I'll be 49 this year. I have a twin sister. She has 4 kids. So I have 3 nephews and a niece. They live in the West End. And then, of course, Mom was an active member at 7th Street for a long time. And her health and everything else is not as good as it used to be. So she doesn't go out and do much with the, church and things anymore. But she was active with Pat singing in the choir and doing all that fun stuff. But I grew up in Richmond, and we lived in the city till we were about 6 or 7, and then we moved to the south side to Chesterfield, and spent middle school and high school years over there. Went to Barton College down in Wilson, Holly's old neck of the wood.
That's right. We have that connection. I served as the chaplain there.
Yeah, when were you the chaplain there?
2007
Okay.
to May of 2013.
Yeah, so I was there 91, 95, and Morgan was the
Morgan daughter.
chaplain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, our paths have crossed in ways that we didn't initially anticipate.
That's true. And then one of my fraternity brothers, Brian Huffman.
That's right.
So yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I played some music. Over the years, I've played piano, drums, guitar, sing every now and then. I actually started taking guitar lessons again at Green Springs over at church about 3 weeks ago with one of their new teachers, who's been great. So just trying to brush up because I haven't really played or done much in a long time. So I thought, well,
oh my God, that's great.
I have a guitar. I was like, I may as well try to learn past the 4 or 5 chords I've known for 30 years. So.
That's all you need to know for most songs.
Well, yeah, pretty much any country song, there's only three main chords, right?
And for praise songs, it's only 2. So
so I'm good. Yeah, I used to as a kid I went to Craig Springs every summer, and so from really elementary school through college, went up there, and once I was out of being a camper, I became a counselor, and then I directed camps up there for a while, and used to direct some of the triple camps where back in the day we had 200 plus staff and kids, and I was in charge of that. I don't know what they were thinking, but anyway, we had a good time.
Can you tell us some funny stories of when you were a youth at 7th Street Christian Church?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of youth when I was young and there, and I mean, we had lock-ins all the time, and I don't know how they got started, but as a kid, the church just seemed bigger than it actually is. And there was the story about that there was going to be a second floor, which everybody knows. And so there was a sort of a ghost tale about a hidden staircase as you went down to the west basement. And so, of course, at nighttime, when you're locked in there with a bunch of other crazy kids, those stories get pretty fun. So We also used to like play hide and seek in the sanctuary with all the lights off at like midnight when we had lock-ins. So that can be a little creepy.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, we had a good time. The some of the funnest memories were they used to have the Wednesday night like fellowship dinners and stuff, and Mr. Wayne Cox would cook and fix his biscuits, and they periodically had hoedowns or square dances, and they would bring in like an actual, bluegrass band or whatever, and a caller, and they would, do the do-si-do and all that stuff, and had bales of hay, and it was great.
That's amazing. Yeah, you've told me that story before, and I
have one friend from from childhood who still talks about the square dances that I used to bring him to. He's like, "You're the only church that I ever knew that did a square dance."
Well, the River City band that shared some music a few weeks back. They, at least Grant Honeycutt, who's like one of the singers, I don't know if the entire band does it, but he has done and does the call outs of the square.
Oh, for the square dance stuff.
So I guess my point is that maybe as COVID ceases and we can come back together and maybe even dance again, we could maybe relive some.
Well, I want to say, and Pat may remember too, but I want to say there were some folks in the church that actually were in some kind of square dance social club or something. Maybe Tom and Dot Smith, or I can't remember who they were, but I think there was like an inside reason because some of them would come dressed up in like outfits and stuff, like matching.
They do
like
Al and I did that.
Oh, Linda, let's.
What?
Al
Oh, yeah.
and I did that. Yeah, we were in a group called Circle 8.
Good.
Okay. I was trying to remember who all was, in it.
Well, that's.
We used to have a good time, and
Your mom would remember.
yeah, she probably would.
Yeah.
She doesn't forget much. I see Frank. Frank taught me in Sunday school from the time I was a kid all the way, I think, through high school.
So you went off to college and you did life a little bit, and then you've made your way back to 7th Street. I'm curious, like, how has that been like to kind of come back? And I know a lot has changed in many ways, yes, this church is a bit smaller and stuff, but I'm curious, what are some of the neat positive things, or what has it felt like to be back?
Well, I moved back in 2000, and I did try coming back for a little bit and joined the choir for, I think, maybe a year or so. But it really wasn't my focus. Right out of college, I had done youth ministry at 2 different churches. Religion was a minor at Barton for me. And so one of the guys that I had done camps with was the minister at a church in Bluefield, Virginia. And he had asked me to come and help him with the youth program there. And that's what I did right out of college, and did that for 2 years. So by the time I got married and divorced and moved back, I was a little burnout on church and just kind of life, and started over and took a break. And that lasted about 20 years. Well, I take that back, 18 years, because I've been back at 7th Street now almost 2, I guess, 2.5. So it's nice. It actually was like, walking back into your elementary school and seeing things from an adult view as opposed to being a kid. Like the lockers aren't as big as they appeared,
Right.
So, but it's been good. It's definitely more relaxed now at 7th Street. When I was a kid there, if you didn't have a tie on, you needed to turn around and go home. And every, service was very formal. So it's nice that, there's still some of that, but it's, a little bit more laid back. So, which is nice. And even, I think COVID has spurred that even more, as we were talking about wet hair and everything else, right? Like, I don't think God or Jesus cares, what, as long as you got some clothes on in public, you're good.
All right, the essentials.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it has been fantastic having you, for me, just having you at 7th Street, for others, having you back at 7th Street. And you've been involved in, I don't know if people realize like some of the behind the scenes stuff that you have done or have been doing, usually including everything from, it's usually beautification efforts. But also I know sharing your music and stuff. I had no idea you played piano until I saw the video last week. I was like, oh my gosh, she plays
Well,
piano.
like I hadn't done that in forever either. All through, high school and college, that's what I was known for, was playing the piano and singing songs.
Oh my.
And I hadn't done that in probably 25 years, sat down and played and sang at the same time. So I guess kind of like a bike, you get back on and you remember how to ride it.
That's right. Well, you sounded great. Now you do have animals or an animal. Tell us about.
just Pickles, and she's enough for everybody.
Where is Pickles right now?
She's sleeping probably on the couch in the other room.
What
She's had her breakfast. She takes naps.
Yeah,
So
I understand that. Right. It's hard, eating, finding the energy to eat. You got to have a nap.
I'll tell you, she's like a light switch. When she's on, and when she's off, she's down for the count. So there's really no in between.
Alex Slusher's asking, what does Paul do?
Oh, for work?
For work, I guess. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, hitchhiking and stuff didn't pay out, so I ended up getting a real job. I actually work for a IT company that does software implementation for other companies. So we're sort of like, IT for hire, basically. The funny story of that is, for years I worked for my brother-in-law's IT company, and the guy that owns the current company I work for was one of our interns 10 years ago. And he and his wife now have their own company and hired me on as the chief experience officer. So I make sure all of our customers are getting what they need and that our staff understands what they need. So I'm kind of the mediator. I know enough to get in trouble on the IT side, on the technical side, but not enough to actually do anything.
Cheryl says, tell us about the articles on the plaques behind you.
Oh, so back in 07 and 08, I had about a 12-year dream. I had been a DJ in college and did mobile DJing for about 16 years, DJed weddings and parties and everything else. But I'd also been a chef. And so I had always wanted to have my own restaurant and nightclub. And in 2007, Dad and I went into business together. And before Scott's Addition was famous Scott's Addition that it is now, we were a little ahead of the game. We renovated a big warehouse over there and had a restaurant, nightclub, and the East Coast first ice bar, which was a totally enclosed freezer room with ice walls and an ice bar and ice glasses. And you could pay to put on a parka jacket and go in there and get your vodka, and we'd take a Polaroid picture, and it was a whole thing. And then the economy tanked in 08 and we had to close. So
oh my God.
that's what those are. Those are the newspaper articles.
I have to tell you, Paul, we were so disappointed because we had heard about that and we got all ready and called up to go down there and visit. They said, we're closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great idea.
Sandy took all of our little group down, and our bridge group.
Oh,
We all went down and went in, and it was so neat.
yeah.
Yeah, I was sorry too.
I have a
We were
story.
about 12 years too early, I think.
Yeah,
for that
exactly.
area.
That's what I heard.
It would have been great now.
Yeah.
I have a story about Paul that new members don't know probably. Is
Uh-oh.
that Paul's dad is Jewish, and he was our Santa Claus for years.
That's right.
And we always thought that was great. But my favorite Christmas, they'd have all the kids go down to the fellowship hall, and Mike would give out some gifts. And the year that I guess that you and Jean turned 16, I remember you going up to Santa and he said, "What would you like for Christmas?" And you said, "A car." That got a big laugh from the adults.
Well, and the funny thing is the first car Gene and I had was Aunt Pat's old car that she had sold, I guess, to mom and dad. And then we ended up using that through high school. It was an old 78 Monte Carlo.
That's great.
And yep. So that was our first car. I
That-
don't know if it happened on Christmas or not, but I
Yeah, it was
remember
just
we
great
had
though,
that.
because he was like, you're asking Santa, and of course we all knew who you were really asking.
That's right.
I love that. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being with us this morning and letting us interview you and reminiscing about 7th Street. And again, we thank you for not just being with us this morning, but just being at 7th Street. You are a fantastic addition, and I'm grateful for you and all that you bring. I know I'm not alone in that. So
Well, thanks for having me back.
We love you, Paul.
Thank you.
love you.